Hi, and thank you for visiting my channel. For more information, kindly subscribe and follow. Now let's get started. WWE Crown Jewel 2024 ended for Roman Reigns in a way he least expected. Despite teaming up with his cousins, Jimmy and Jey Uso, the original tribal chief fell short in his attempt to defeat Solo Sikoa. As if that wasn't enough, Reigns received a hell of a kick from Sami Zayn that was meant for the new tribal chief. It was a tragic moment that scuppered what many at the time believed was the reunion of the OG bloodline. Given all that's happened, it's clear that the group needs order. They need someone to guide them if they hope to win this civil war. For that to happen, though, there needs to be some discourse. As things stand, there is no unity in the group. Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso are on one side, while Jey Uso and Sami Zayn are on the other. Fortunately, this could all change with the return of Reigns' trusted ally, WWE Hall of Famer Paul Heyman. The wise man could be the right man to rally the OG bloodline. Roman Reigns has always had an easier go of things with Paul Heyman by his side. Should the Hall of Famer return, he could prove to be the cool head in a room of hot heads and potentially get Reigns, Jey, Jimmy, and Sami on the same page. Heyman hasn't been seen in WWE since Solo Sikoa ostracized him from the bloodline in June 2024. But if his social media activity is anything to go by, he still acknowledges Reigns as his tribal chief. That said, this is nothing more than speculation, as there is no telling what the future holds. Roman Reigns could head to Raw to confront both Jey Uso and Sami Zayn. As has been established already, Roman Reigns had a night to forget at Crown Jewel. Not only did he lose to Solo Sikoa, but the match exposed the cracks in the OG bloodline. Some may say that it proved the Street Champion's point: his bloodline is far more united than any version of the group the original tribal chief could lead. The tension in the group was on full display for all to see. Not only did Jey Uso refuse to tag in Reigns at one point, but the aftermath of the match saw the group become more divided than ever. Well, things could go from bad to worse, as the OTC could head to Raw to confront not just Jey but Sami Zayn as well. No doubt, Reigns will be livid with how things ended in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. But should he go to Raw to confront Jey and Sami, he will need to be careful. His actions could affect his hopes of reclaiming his place at the head of the table, as he could lose the little support he has. Regardless, it will be interesting to see how this bloodline saga now proceeds. As tensions rise within the WWE, speculation swirls around the bloodline. For months, cracks have been forming in Roman Reigns' once unshakable empire. From Jey Uso breaking away to Solo Sikoa grappling with his own path, it has become clear that Reigns' grip over the bloodline may be weakening. Amid this chaos, one name begins to emerge as a possible solution: a WWE Hall of Famer who could bring the family back together and restore order to the bloodline. The bloodline struggles and Solo's crisis since WrestleMania, Roman Reigns has had to watch his family members question their allegiance and rebel against his authority. Solo Sikoa, the silent enforcer, has stayed fiercely loyal, but even he has begun to look uncertain as Roman's aggressive rule conflicts with his own vision of what the family should represent. After yet another grueling match, where Roman had to rely heavily on Solo to fend off opponents, the tribal chief saw the doubt growing in his enforcer's eyes. Solo's quiet loyalty was being tested, and Roman knew that if his strongest ally were to falter, the entire bloodline could come crashing down. He needed someone from the family's history to reinforce the message of unity and strength, a figure who understood the dynasty, the responsibilities, and, most importantly, how to command respect. Enter Rikishi, a possible return. As rumors circulated, whispers began suggesting the return of WWE Hall of Famer Rikishi, the father of Solo Sikoa and the Usos. If there was anyone who understood the importance of the bloodline and had a powerful influence over Solo, it was Rikishi. He had always been more than just a legend in the family. He was a guiding figure for his sons, embodying loyalty, pride, and unity. He could be the mentor Solo needed, and perhaps the only person Roman might trust to stabilize the faction. Rikishi's career in WWE had seen him play many roles, from a crowd pleaser with his iconic dance moves to a fierce competitor who demanded respect. Now, he could return as a father and a mentor, providing the firm but fair leadership that the bloodline so desperately needed. This was more than just wrestling, it was about family legacy, and Rikishi was ready to step up if needed. Roman's inner conflict. Although the idea of bringing Rikishi into the fold seemed logical, it wasn't without complications. Roman had always been fiercely protective of his authority and might not take kindly to sharing power, even with family. But deep down, he knew the bloodline needed guidance, and he feared losing control entirely. The influence of Rikishi could be just what Solo needed to stay loyal, and it might bring Jey Uso back to the family, bridging the rift that had split them. Roman mulled over his options. His pride battled with his desire to keep the family intact. He had watched his cousins grow up, had fought with and against them, and had led them through thick and thin. Could he trust Rikishi to help lead the bloodline without challenging his authority as the tribal chief? More importantly, could he let go of some control for the sake of the family's unity? The WWE Universe reacts. News of a potential Rikishi return spread quickly, and the WWE Universe was electrified. Fans took to social media, debating the impact Rikishi could have on the bloodline. Would he truly support Roman's iron-fisted rule, or would he encourage Solo and the others to rethink their allegiance? Some speculated that Rikishi might actually side with Jey and Jimmy, reminding them of their heritage and encouraging them to reclaim their own destinies. Others believed Rikishi's involvement would reinforce Roman's vision, helping to stabilize the bloodline and strengthen its legacy. Either way, the anticipation was building, and fans eagerly awaited the possibility of a Rikishi appearance to bring resolution to the family drama. An emotional confrontation. The stage was set for Rikishi's return. On a high-stakes episode of SmackDown, Roman Reigns summoned the bloodline to the ring, where he addressed Solo Sikoa and the absence of his cousins. The crowd grew restless, sensing something monumental was about to happen. As Roman spoke, he was interrupted by the sound of Rikishi's music. The arena erupted. Out walked Rikishi, his expression solemn yet resolute. He made his way down the ramp, locking eyes with Roman, who seemed both relieved and cautious. In the ring, the tension was palpable. Roman addressed Rikishi respectfully but firmly, thanking him for coming to support his family. Rikishi didn't respond right away. Instead, he looked at Solo, placing a reassuring hand on his son's shoulder. Then, he turned his attention to Roman. "I respect everything you've done, Roman," Rikishi said, his voice strong and steady. "But this family, it's bigger than just one man's rule. The bloodline is built on trust, loyalty, and love, principles that go beyond titles and power. I'm here to make sure we remember that." Roman bristled, clearly uncomfortable with Rikishi's words. But the crowd was firmly behind the Hall of Famer, chanting his name in support. Solo looked torn, caught between his loyalty to Roman and his respect for his father's wisdom. Rikishi's guidance over the following weeks. Rikishi played the role of mentor, not just to Solo but to the entire bloodline. He encouraged them to remember the legacy they were building and the responsibilities they had to each other. Solo, who had always been quiet and intense, began to open up more under his father's guidance, sharing his own vision for what the bloodline should represent. Rikishi's return didn't just affect Solo, it also brought Jimmy and Jey back into the fold. Although they weren't immediately back in Roman's corner, Rikishi's influence encouraged them to attend family meetings, and they began engaging in more civil conversations with Roman. The tension was still there, but Rikishi's presence helped to diffuse the animosity. Roman and Rikishi's agreement. As Roman watched his family slowly rebuild, he came to respect Rikishi's approach, even if it differed from his own. Roman remained the tribal chief, but he started to understand the value of shared leadership. It became clear that Rikishi wasn't there to usurp his authority but to support the family's overall strength. One night on SmackDown, Roman and Rikishi had a private conversation in the locker room. Roman thanked him for returning and helping keep the family together, admitting that he had underestimated the value of family beyond his own rule. Rikishi, with a proud smile, assured Roman that his leadership was respected but that sometimes, even the strongest leader needs a trusted ally by his side. The bloodline reborn with Rikishi's guidance, the bloodline began to operate as a unified force once more. Roman still held the title of tribal chief, but he showed a newfound respect for the roles each member played. Solo, Jimmy, and Jay all found their places within the family, strengthened by Rikishi's wisdom and love. The return of Rikishi had not only restored order but had breathed new life into the bloodline. Roman Reigns' empire was no longer held together by fear alone but by mutual respect and unity. In the end, Rikishi's influence proved to be the missing piece, the stabilizing force that allowed the bloodline to truly become a dynasty.